Dr. Maya Rodriguez never thought her research trip to Madagascar would turn into a fight for her life. She had come to this remote island to study marine life, excited about discovering new species in the crystal-clear waters. But now, lying on a narrow hospital bed in a tiny clinic, she could barely keep her eyes open. It started 3 days ago with what seemed like a simple stomach bug. Maya thought she had eaten something bad from the local market. But the pain got worse, and worse, until she was doubled over and couldn't even stand up straight. Her research partner, Alex, had to carry her to their jeep and drive for 2 hours on bumpy dirt roads to reach the nearest medical facility. The clinic was nothing like the hospitals back home. The walls were painted bright blue, but the paint was peeling in many places. There were only 4 beds, and the equipment looked like it came from another decade. But Dr. Ravi, the Indian doctor who ran the place, knew exactly what he was doing. "You have a severe parasitic infection," he told Maya in accented English. "Your body is fighting hard, but it's losing. We need to act fast." Maya's fever was so high that everything felt like a dream. She could hear Dr. Ravi talking to Alex outside her room, their voices serious and worried. Through her foggy mind, she caught words like blood loss and transfusion and not much time. "We have a problem," Dr. Ravi said when he came back into the room. "Your blood count is dangerously low. The infection has damaged your red blood cells, and your body can't carry oxygen properly anymore. You need new blood, and you need it now." Maya tried to speak, but her voice came out as barely a whisper. "Do you have blood here?" Dr. Ravi shook his head slowly. "This is a small clinic. We have some emergency supplies, but not your blood type. You have AB negative blood. It's very rare, especially here in Madagascar. Only about 1% of people have it." The room felt like it was spinning. Maya had always known her blood type was rare, but she never thought it would be a problem. Back home, hospitals had blood banks with every type. Here, in this remote corner of the world, her rare blood type might be her death sentence. "What can we do?" Alex asked, gripping Maya's hand tightly. "We need to find a donor," Dr. Ravi said. "Someone with AB negative blood, or at least someone with O negative who can donate to anyone. But in this small village, the chances are very slim." Maya closed her eyes, feeling weaker by the minute. Her heart was racing, trying to pump blood that wasn't carrying enough oxygen. She could feel her body starting to shut down, one system at a time. That's when they heard footsteps in the hallway. A woman's voice spoke in the local language, Malagasy, talking quickly with Dr. Ravi. Maya couldn't understand the words, but she could hear the urgency in the conversation. "There might be hope," Dr. Ravi said, coming back to Maya's bedside. "A local woman says she might be able to help. Her name is Kira, and she's asking to have her blood tested." Within minutes, a woman appeared in the doorway. Kira looked at B in her 30s, with dark skin and long black hair braided with small beads. She wore a colorful wraparound dress and had intricate tattoos on her arms that looked like they told a story. But what struck Maya most were her eyes. They were unusually bright, almost like they were glowing. Kira spoke to Dr. Ravi in Malagasy, gesturing toward Maya. Even though Maya couldn't understand the language, she could tell that Kira was asking detailed questions about her condition. "She wants to know how much blood you need," Dr. Ravi translated. "She says she's healthy and can donate." Dr. Ravi quickly took a blood sample from Kira and ran it through his testing equipment. Maya watched from her bed as he worked, hoping against hope that this stranger's blood would be compatible with hers. "This is remarkable," Dr. Ravi said, staring at his test results. "Not only is she AB negative like you, but her blood is incredibly healthy. Her red blood cell count is higher than I've ever seen in a normal person." Kira nodded when Dr. Ravi explained the results to her. She rolled up her sleeve without hesitation, ready to donate. But as Dr. Ravi prepared the needle, Kira began speaking rapidly in Malagasy, her voice getting more intense. "What is she saying?" Maya asked weakly. Dr. Ravi looked confused as he listened to Kira. "She's saying something about her blood being special. She's warning that once you receive it, things will change for you. She keeps using a word I don't recognize, something about awakening or transformation." Maya was too weak to care about strange warnings. She just wanted to live. "Please," she whispered. "I need the blood." Kira seemed to understand, even though Maya had spoken in English. The woman approached Maya's bed and placed a gentle hand on her forehead. She spoke softly in Malagasy, and even though Maya couldn't understand the words, they sounded like a blessing or a prayer. The transfusion began slowly. Maya watched as Kira's deep red blood flowed through the clear tube and into her arm. It felt warm as it entered her body, warmer than she expected. Almost immediately she began to feel different. Her vision, which had been blurry for hours, started to clear. Her heart, which had been racing, began to slow to a more normal rhythm. The terrible weakness that had been crushing her started to lift, like a heavy blanket being pulled away. But Kira was acting strange. As her blood flowed into Maya, the woman became more and more agitated. She kept staring at the blood bag, watching her blood leave her body and enter Maya's. She began muttering under her breath, the same words over and over. "What is she saying now?" Maya asked, feeling stronger by the minute. Dr. Ravi listened carefully. His face grew concerned as he translated. "She's saying that's my blood, human. Stop drinking. She seems upset that you're receiving her blood, even though she volunteered to donate it." Kira's voice got louder, more desperate. She stood up from the donation chair, even though the needle was still in her arm. Dr. Ravi quickly removed it and applied pressure to stop the bleeding. "She's saying you're drinking her essence." Dr. Ravi continued translating, looking puzzled. "She's asking us to stop the transfusion, but it's too late now. The blood is already in your system." Maya felt amazing, better than she had felt in days, maybe even better than she had felt before getting sick. Her energy was returning so fast that it almost scared her. She sat up in bed, something she couldn't do just minutes before. Kira approached Maya's bed again, but this time she looked worried, almost frightened. She reached into a small pouch she wore around her waist and pulled out a tiny carved wooden amulet. She pressed it into Maya's hand while speaking urgently in Malagasy. "She says, you'll need this," Dr. Ravi translated. "She's warning you about something she calls the hunger that comes after. She says you're not like other humans anymore, and you need to be careful." Before anyone could ask more questions, Kira gathered her things and headed for the door. She paused at the threshold and looked back at Maya one more time. Her bright eyes seemed to be studying Maya, like she was memorizing her face. Then she spoke one last sentence in Malagasy before disappearing into the night. "What did she say?" Maya asked, clutching the small amulet. Dr. Ravi looked troubled as he cleaned up the medical equipment. "She said, 'Remember, child, you asked for this. Now you must live with what comes next.'" Maya stared at the amulet in her hand. It was carved from dark wood and shaped like some kind of animal, though she couldn't tell what kind. The craftsmanship was incredible, with tiny details that seemed to move in the light. As the night went on, Maya's recovery continued at an almost impossible rate. Dr. Ravi ran test after test, shaking his head at the results. Her blood work showed numbers he had never seen before. Her infection was completely gone. Her strength was returning rapidly, and her vital signs were better than perfect. But as Maya lay in her hospital bed that night, she couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. Kira's warning echoed in her mind, and the small amulet seemed to grow warm in her hand whenever she thought about the strange woman who had saved her life. What had Kira meant about not being like other humans anymore? And what was this hunger she had warned about? Maya would soon find out that some gifts come with a price, and some life-saving moments change everything, forever. The next morning, Maya woke up feeling like a completely different person. For the first time in days, she wasn't exhausted. Her body felt strong, almost electric with energy. She sat up in the hospital bed and realized something amazing. She could see everything in perfect detail, even without her glasses. The clock on the wall across the room showed 6:30 a.m., and she could read it clearly. Before the transfusion, she couldn't even see the clock without squinting. Now every number was sharp and clear, like someone had adjusted the focus on her entire world. Dr. Ravi walked into the room carrying a cup of coffee and nearly dropped it when he saw Maya sitting up, alert and smiling. "This is incredible," he said, setting down his coffee and pulling out his stethoscope. "Yesterday you were barely conscious, and now you look like you could run a marathon." As he checked her vital signs, Maya noticed something else strange. She could hear conversations happening in other parts of the clinic. There was a mother talking to her sick child 3 rooms away, and she could understand every word they were saying in Malagasy, a language she had never learned. "Dr. Ravi," she said slowly, "I think something unusual is happening to me." "What do you mean?" he asked, writing notes on her chart. "I can hear people talking in the other rooms, and I think I understand what they're saying, even though I don't speak Malagasy." Dr. Ravi paused his writing and looked at her carefully. "That's not medically possible, Maya. You're probably just hearing English words mixed in with their conversation." But Maya knew that wasn't it. She could clearly hear a woman in the next room telling her husband about their sick cow, describing the animal's symptoms in perfect detail. There were no English words in that conversation. Before Dr. Ravi could run more tests, they heard familiar footsteps in the hallway. Kira had returned, and she was speaking rapidly to the nurse at the front desk. "She's asking to see you," Dr. Ravi translated. She seems very concerned about how you're feeling. When Kira entered the room, her bright eyes immediately focused on Maya with an intensity that was almost uncomfortable. She spoke a stream of Malagasy words, her voice filled with worry. She's asking if you slept well, Dr. Ravi said, and if you've noticed any changes in your body. Maya decided to be honest. Tell her that I can see perfectly without my glasses, and I think I can understand languages I've never learned. Dr. Ravi translated, and Kira's expression grew even more serious. She began speaking faster, gesturing with her hands as if trying to explain something very important. She says this is exactly what she was afraid of, Dr. Ravi translated, looking confused. She's talking about something called the awakening of blood memory. She says your body is absorbing abilities that came with her blood. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What does that mean? Kira seemed to understand the question, even though Maya had asked it in English. The woman sat down on the edge of Maya's bed and began speaking slowly, pausing after each sentence so Dr. Ravi could translate. She says that her people have special blood. Dr. Ravi translated carefully. Blood that carries more than just nutrients and oxygen. She says it carries memories, abilities, and connections to the natural world that most humans don't have. That's impossible, Maya said. But even as she spoke, she was remembering the strange dreams she'd had during the night. Dreams where she was running through forests with incredible speed, understanding the calls of birds and the movements of animals. Kira continued speaking, her voice becoming more urgent. She's warning you that the changes are just beginning. Dr. Ravi translated. She says, your senses will become much stronger. You'll be able to hear heartbeats from far away, smell things that others can't detect, and see in the dark like an animal. As if to prove her point, Maya suddenly became aware of everyone's heartbeat in the room. Dr. Ravi's heart was beating fast with excitement and confusion. Kira's heart was steady but strong, pumping blood that sounded different somehow, richer, more powerful. And she's warning about something else. Dr. Ravi continued translating. She says you'll develop a hunger that regular food can't satisfy. She calls it the calling of the blood. Maya's stomach chose that moment to growl loudly. But it wasn't a normal hunger. She had eaten breakfast an hour ago, but now she felt an estranged craving for something she couldn't identify. The smell of Dr. Ravi's coffee, which usually smelled amazing, now made her feel slightly sick. What kind of hunger? Maya asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. Kira spoke again, this time looking directly into Maya's eyes as she talked. She says you'll crave raw meat, Dr. Ravi translated uncomfortably, and you'll feel drawn to hunt, to be in the wild. She says this is normal for her people, but dangerous for outsiders who don't understand how to control it. Maya shook her head. I'm a vegetarian. I don't even like the smell of cooked meat, let alone raw meat. But even as she said it, she caught a scent from outside the window, something wild and alive. Her mouth began to water, and she felt an urge to go outside and follow the smell. It was disturbing and exciting at the same time. Kira pulled out another small item from her pouch, a leather cord with several small bones tied to it. She wants you to wear this, Dr. Ravi translated. She says it will help you control the hunger when it gets strong. But she's insisting that you need to learn the old ways of her people, or the changes in your blood will become dangerous. Dr. Ravi looked skeptical. Maya, I think we should focus on medical facts here. You had a severe infection, you received a blood transfusion, and now you're recovering. These other things, they might be psychological effects of trauma, or maybe some kind of placebo effect. But Maya was starting to believe Kira. The evidence was right there in her own body. Her vision was superhuman. She could hear conversations from impossible distances, and the hunger she was feeling wasn't like any normal appetite she'd ever experienced. What happens if I don't learn to control it? Maya asked. Kira's expression became very serious as she answered. She says you could lose your humanity. Dr. Ravi translated quietly. She says the blood will make you stronger and faster and smarter, but if you don't learn to balance it with wisdom and respect for life, you could become something that hunts people instead of protecting them. The room fell silent. Maya could hear her own heartbeat now, and it was getting faster. Outside she could smell dozens of different scents, flowers, animals, people, earth after rain. It was overwhelming and wonderful and terrifying all at once. She's offering to teach you, Dr. Ravi continued translating, but she says you have to choose quickly. Either you learn her people's ways, or you go back to your old life and hope the changes don't get too strong to handle. Maya looked at the leather cord in Kira's hands, then at Dr. Ravi's worried face, then back at Kira's bright, knowing eyes. What if I want to go home? Maya asked. What if I just want to go back to my research and pretend this never happened? Kira shook her head sadly as she listened to the translation. When she replied, her voice was gentle but firm. She says you can try, Dr. Ravi translated. But the blood doesn't care what you want, it will change you whether you accept it or not. The only choice you have is whether you learn to guide the changes, or let them guide you. Maya felt the wooden amulet from the night before, still warm in her pocket. She thought about her research, her career, her family back home. She thought about the life she had planned, and how different everything felt now. As if reading her thoughts, Kira stood up and placed the leather cord on Maya's bedside table. She spoke one more sentence before heading toward the door. What did she say? Maya asked. Dr. Ravi looked troubled as he translated the final warning. She said, the choice must be yours, but choose quickly. Every day you wait, the hunger grows stronger, and the path back to your old self becomes more impossible to find. After Kira left, Maya sat in the quiet hospital room, staring at the leather cord and feeling her new senses picking up details about the world she had never noticed before. She could smell fear from Dr. Ravi, excitement from patients in other rooms, and something wild and free from the forests outside. The transformation had begun, and there was no going back. The only question now was whether she would fight it or learn to master it. 2 days later, Dr. Ravi discharged Maya from the clinic. Her blood work was perfect, better than perfect actually. But as she walked back to her research station, she knew nothing would ever be the same. That the first thing she noticed was that she didn't need her flashlight anymore. The path through the forest, which had always seemed dark and confusing at night, now appeared as clear as daylight. She could see every rock, every branch, every small animal hiding in the bushes. Her research partner Alex was waiting for her at their camp, worried sick. Maya, thank goodness you're okay. Dr. Ravi said you made an amazing recovery, but I was so scared we were going to lose you. Maya hugged her friend, but something felt different. She could hear Alex's heartbeat, fast and anxious. She could smell the soap Alex had used that morning, the coffee she'd been drinking, even the specific brand of insect repellent on her clothes. It was like having a superpower, but one that came with no instruction manual. That night, Maya experienced the most vivid dreams of her life. She was running through Madagascar's dense forests, but not like a normal person. She was moving with the speed and grace of a wild animal, leaping over fallen trees and racing alongside creatures that should have been afraid of humans. In her dreams, she could understand the language of the forest. The birds were warning each other about weather changes. The lemurs were gossiping about territorial disputes. Even the insects seemed to be having conversations that made perfect sense to her dreaming mind. Most disturbing were the hunting dreams. She found herself tracking animals through the forest, not with a camera for her research, but with an instinct that felt ancient and primal. She could smell fear, excitement, and something else, something that made her mouth water in a way that terrified her even in sleep. Maya woke up gasping, her heart racing, but instead of feeling tired from the intense dreams, she felt more energetic than ever. She glanced at her watch for 30 a.m. She had only slept for 3 hours, but she felt like she had gotten the best rest of her life. Unable to go back to sleep, Maya decided to check her research equipment down by the ocean. The walk that usually took 20 minutes in daylight took her only 8 minutes in complete darkness. She moved through the forest like she had been born there, avoiding obstacles she couldn't even see and following paths she had never noticed before. At the research station, Maya began reviewing her data from before the illness, but something was wrong. The computer screen, which had never bothered her before, now felt painfully bright. She had to turn the brightness all the way down, and still found it uncomfortable to look at. Even worse, the normal food she had packed for breakfast made her feel sick. The granola bars that used to be her favorite now smelled artificial and wrong. The canned fruit made her stomach turn. But when she opened a container of leftover fish from yesterday's samples, her mouth began watering immediately. Maya stared at the raw fish samples she had collected for genetic testing. They weren't meant for eating, they were meant for laboratory analysis. But they smelled incredible, and she found herself fighting an urge to taste them. This is crazy, she whispered to herself. I don't eat raw fish. I barely eat cooked fish. But the smell was driving her crazy with hunger. Without really thinking about it, she picked up a small piece and examined it closely. Her enhanced vision could see every detail, the texture of the flesh, the way the morning light reflected off its scales. Everything about it seemed to call to her. Maya forced herself to put the fish down and step away from the samples. She pulled out the wooden amulet Kira had given her and found that holding it helped calm the strange hunger. but she could still smell the fish from across the room, and the craving didn't completely go away. Over the next few days, the changes became more dramatic. Maya's hearing became so sensitive that normal conversations sounded like shouting. She had to ask Alex to speak more quietly, which confused her friend since Alex was already talking in normal tones. Her eyesight continued to improve beyond what should have been humanly possible. She could read tiny text on equipment labels from across the room. At night, she could see fish swimming underwater in perfect detail, even when the water was murky. Most remarkably, she began to understand the behavior of the marine life she was studying in ways that seemed impossible. She could predict where schools of fish would appear, and she seemed to know instinctively which areas of the reef were healthiest without running any tests. But the hunger was getting stronger. Maya found herself avoiding the camp kitchen and spending more time alone by the water. Raw seafood smelled amazing, while cooked food became increasingly unappealing. She started catching small fish with her bare hands, something that should have been impossible, but felt completely natural. Alex started to notice the changes too. Maya, you seem different since you got sick. You're much more, I don't know, intense. And you keep staring at things like you're seeing them for the first time. Maya didn't know how to explain what was happening to her. How could she tell her best friend that she was developing supernatural abilities and craving raw meat? Alex would think she was having some kind of psychological breakdown. Instead, Maya began researching local folklore during her free time. She discovered stories about people in Madagascar who possessed extraordinary abilities. The locals called them Naimihari, the blessed ones. According to legend, these people could communicate with animals, had incredible physical abilities, and required a diet that most people found disturbing. The stories described how this gift was passed down through certain bloodlines, but also mentioned that it could be transferred to outsiders in rare circumstances. The legends warn that people who received these abilities without understanding their cultural and spiritual significance could become dangerous to themselves and others. Maya realized she needed to find Kira again. The wooden amulet was helping, but she could feel something building inside her, a restlessness that made her want to run through the forest all night, a hunger that regular food couldn't satisfy, and an awareness of her surroundings that was becoming overwhelming. One evening, as she was trying to force herself to eat a normal dinner, Maya heard something that made her freeze. In the distance, someone was calling her name, but it wasn't Alex's voice, and there was no one else around for miles. She followed the sound into the forest, moving silently through the darkness. Her enhanced senses picked up every detail of the nighttime forest, the rustle of lemurs in the trees, the scent of night-blooming flowers, the sound of insects communicating in patterns that almost seemed like language. Deep in the forest, Maya found Kira waiting for her beside a small fire. The woman didn't seem surprised to see her. You came, Kira said in perfect English, which shocked Maya since the woman had only spoken Malagasy before. You speak English? Maya asked. I speak many languages, Kira replied. The blood carries memories of everyone who came before. When you have the gift, you understand what you need to understand. Maya sat down across from Kira, grateful to finally have someone who could explain what was happening to her. I'm changing, Maya said simply, and I don't know how to control it. Kira nodded knowingly. The awakening always begins the same way. Enhanced senses, strange dreams, and the hunger that grows stronger each day. You're lucky you found me before it got too powerful to manage. What happens if I can't control it? Kira's expression became serious. The blood gives great gifts, but it also carries great responsibility. Those who cannot balance the animal instincts with human wisdom become lost. They forget how to live among people and become something that only knows how to hunt. Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. She thought about her growing aversion to normal food, her increasing comfort in the wild, and the hunting dreams that were becoming more vivid each night. Can you teach me? Maya asked. Kira smiled for the first time since Maya had met her. That's why I've been waiting for you. The blood chose you for a reason, but now you must choose what to do with the gift. Kira's training began immediately. She led Maya deeper into the Madagascar forest than any tourist or researcher had ever been, to places where her people had lived in secret for hundreds of years. My ancestors came here long ago, Kira explained. As they walked through ancient paths hidden by overgrown vegetation, we fled from those who wanted to use our gifts for war and power. Madagascar became our sanctuary, where we could live in balance with nature. The village they reached was unlike anything Maya had ever seen. The houses were built into the trees themselves, connected by bridges made from living branches. People moved through the canopy with incredible grace, and children who couldn't have been more than 10 years old were climbing vertical tree trunks like squirrels. But what struck Maya most was how everyone looked at her. Their eyes had the same bright, intense quality as Kira's, and she could sense something from them, a shared energy that felt both welcoming and powerful. "We are the Guardians," Kira explained. "For generations we have protected forests and waters. Our enhanced abilities aren't just gifts, they're tools for preserving the balance between humans and nature." An elderly man approached them, moving with surprising agility despite his obvious age. When he spoke, Maya was amazed to discover she could understand him perfectly, even though he was speaking in a dialect she had never heard before. "The outsider carries our blood now," he said, studying Maya carefully. "But does she carry our wisdom? That's what we're here to find out," Kira replied. Over the following days, Maya learned the history of Kira's people. They called themselves the Myandri, the Watchers. Centuries ago, they had developed their enhanced abilities through a combination of selective breeding, spiritual practices, and a deep connection to Madagascar's unique ecosystem. "The blood remembers everything," the elder explained during one of Maya's lessons. "Every ancestor, every lesson learned, every mistake made. When you received Kira's blood, you inherited thousands of years of memory and instinct." Maya began to understand that her strange dreams weren't random. They were ancestral memories surfacing in her consciousness. The hunting instincts, the ability to communicate with animals, the superhuman physical abilities, all of these were part of a genetic inheritance that went back dozens of generations. But the most important lesson was about control and responsibility. "The hunger you feel isn't evil," Kira taught her during a meditation session by a hidden waterfall. "It's natural. But among humans who don't understand, it can become dangerous. You must learn to satisfy the hunger in ways that protect life, rather than destroy it." Maya discovered that the raw meat craving could be managed through a diet of ethically sourced fish and a deep spiritual connection to the ocean life she studied. The restlessness could be channeled into protecting the marine ecosystems she loved. The enhanced senses could be used to detect environmental threats that normal humans would miss. "Your work as a researcher makes you perfect for our way of life," Kira explained. "You already care about protecting ocean life. Now you have the tools to do it more effectively than any normal human could." The training wasn't easy. Maya had to learn meditation techniques that helped her control the overwhelming sensory input. She practiced moving through the forest silently, using her enhanced agility for observation rather than hunting. Most importantly, she learned to recognize the difference between the protective instincts of her inherited abilities and the potentially dangerous impulses that came with them. "The blood can make you incredibly powerful," the elder warned during one lesson, "but power without wisdom leads to destruction. You must always remember that you are part of the ecosystem, not its master." Maya also learned about the sacred responsibility that came with her transformation. The Myandri didn't just protect Madagascar's environment for themselves, they saw themselves as guardians for all humanity. Climate change, pollution, and habitat destruction threatened not just their home, but the entire planet. "Your scientists study the problems," Kira said, "but they can only see part of the picture. With our gifts, you can understand the deeper connections between all living things. You can be a bridge between our ancient wisdom and modern knowledge." After 2 weeks of intensive training, Maya felt like she had found her balance. The hunger was still there, but now she understood how to satisfy it in healthy ways. The enhanced senses were no longer overwhelming. Instead, they gave her insights into marine behavior that revolutionized her research. Most importantly, she had found a purpose that felt bigger than just her personal career. She was part of something ancient and important, a guardian tradition that stretched back through centuries. But there was still one major decision to make. "You cannot be both worlds completely," the elder told her honestly. "If you return to your old life, you will always feel divided. The gifts will call to you, and you will struggle to find peace. But if you stay with us," Kira added, "you can never fully go back to the human world. Your family, your career, your old friends, they will become distant memories." Maya thought about her research lab back home, her family who was probably worried sick about her, and the life she had built over 30 years. Then she looked at the incredible community she had discovered, the meaningful work of protecting one of the world's most unique ecosystems, and the sense of belonging she felt among the Myandri. It was the hardest decision she had ever faced.